Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Tuesday, September 17th. Today is day 347. I've been doing these daily video updates every day since October 7th and the attacks by Hamas. And here's another one. And what a day it's been. From Lebanon, Prime Minister Netanyahu, as his security cabinet yesterday, I talked about this a little bit. They have made the safe return of Israelis that have been relocated from North Israel along the Lebanese border. One of their official war goals, there are about 60,000 Israeli citizens who continue to be displaced. And one of the U.S. senior advisors, Amos Hochstein, he works for President Biden. He cautioned Netanyahu yesterday, and he said he cautioned Netanyahu against starting a wider war against Lebanon. This was reported in Axios. In the same meeting, the Israeli Defense Minister Gallant told Hochstein that military action is the only way forward. He said that in order to end cross-border violence on the north border of Israel with Lebanon, violence was the only way to end, that conflict with Hezbollah. And so today we woke up to the news that there was a major attack in Lebanon where thousands of people, the numbers are reported at about 2,800, were injured in a simultaneous attack where pagers, like old school pagers, simultaneously exploded. When I heard pager attack, I didn't really understand what it meant. 11 people were killed. This was an unprecedented attack. At least 2,800 people were injured. 200 people, it said, critically. Pagers were used by Hezbollah because their communications on cell phones were being intercepted by Israel. And they simultaneously exploded all over Lebanon. And then there was also an attack in Syria where 14 people were injured by pager explosions. So that happened earlier today. Iran's ambassador to Lebanon was wounded by a pager explosion. Iranian state media reported, Saudi's Al-Hadath reported that senior Hezbollah officials were wounded, including one of the sons of the organization's parliament members. The Israeli military did not comment, but American and other officials briefed on the operation said that Israel was responsible for the attack and had executed it by hiding small amounts of explosive material in each pager within a new batch of pagers that was made in Taiwan and imported into Lebanon. In Syria, 14 people were injured by explosions in pagers, apparently in a coordinated attack, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Reuters reported that Hezbollah responded and said that they promised to retaliate. There also was supposed to be an attack on an Israeli official that was thwarted, that was reported today in Israeli newspapers. Israel's top security officials were summoned for an emergency meeting with government leaders where they were asked to present options for addressing the escalating security situation with Hezbollah in the north. So we should keep our eyes out and expect that things could escalate in that regard in the days ahead. There was a man killed in an Israeli airstrike in a Lebanese village of Majdal Selm, according to the Lebanese health ministry. In Gaza, Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar has avoided death or capture by Israel because of a low-tech coded communication system involving handwritten notes and codes and a courier system, according to ceasefire mediators, the Wall Street Journal just reported. Senior Hamas official Khaled Meshal told the New York Times that Hamas has the upper hand in the war against Israel, and they're not rushing to make a ceasefire deal if it does not include an end to the war and an Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. Mashal says that he believes Hamas will play a central role in Gaza when the war is over. All illusions about filling the vacuum are behind us. That is a mistaken assumption. He went on and said that the Israeli-American vision wasn't talking about the day after Hamas, whereas now the U.S. is saying we're waiting for Hamas's response. And his argument is they're all but recognizing us. They're all but recognizing Hamas. Now, a major general in the Israeli military, his name is Gadi Shamni. He's the former commander of the IDF's Gaza division. He told the Times that while Israel is tactically stronger than Hamas, Hamas is winning the war. He said that Hamas has retaken cities that the IDF withdrew from within 15 minutes. Shamni noted that there is no one that can challenge Hamas after the Israeli forces leave, and that the greatest failure of the war is that Netanyahu did not create an alternative governing model for Gaza earlier. Approximately 90% of all of the children in Gaza under 10 years old have been vaccinated with the first vaccine in the polio campaign that concluded on Saturday, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry and UNRWA. I just want to make note, if 90% of the children of the whole population is 2 million, the goal was 600,000 vaccines. If 90% of the children under 10 in Gaza can be vaccinated in a few weeks, we can feed them. They can have water and food. There should not be a humanitarian crisis. There is so much evidence that the withholding of food is being used literally as a weapon of war. In Israel, we talked about the situation yesterday. Netanyahu his plans to remove Defense Minister Gallant and replace him with opposition lawmaker Sa'ar could be postponed until after Netanyahu's return from the UN General Assembly. That's happening next week. Senior officials involved in negotiations between Netanyahu and Sa'ar told Haaretz. The sources suggested that Netanyahu is reluctant to proceed with the move until it becomes clear whether or not Israel faces an imminent large-scale military campaign in the north. They said that they're in the middle of a complex security situation. It's uncertain whether it's possible to replace the defense minister right now. It could become necessary, but the PM understands he has a serious problem, said a source. Earlier today, Tuesday, Haaretz learned that Netanyahu and Sa'ar have agreed that they would jointly choose the next IDF chief of staff, should Sa'ar replace Gallant as the defense minister, but it's unclear if they would act to remove the chief of staff, Halevi, or if they would wait for his resignation. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken will return to Egypt tomorrow to discuss ongoing efforts to reach a ceasefire in Gaza, but he will not be going to Israel. This is the first time he will have gone to the Middle East since October 7th and not gone to Israel, according to CNN. Israel's initial findings on the killing of the U.S. activist Asenor Eski do not exonerate Israeli security forces, the State Department said yesterday, warning that Washington would weigh other measures if the results of a full Israeli probe are unsatisfactory, Reuters reported. And the U.S. offered to recognize the Houthi government in Sana'a in a bid to stop the Yemeni rebel group's attacks in the Red Sea, a senior Houthi official said, but a U.S. official denied the claims. Today was supposed to be the next hearing for the Nasser family from the Tent of Nations in the Bethlehem district who are trying to register their land. They've been trying to do so in Israeli courts for more than 30 years. They have registration papers that date all the way back to the time of the Ottomans. Please continue to be in prayer for them. I've not yet heard any news, but we'll be sure to keep you informed as we do know. May God be with them. May God be with all. Do not give up in your prayers. Do not give up in your efforts towards peace. May God go before us in the name of Christ. Amen.